And hello, movie fans, and welcome back to another episode of the Zone TV Movie Entertainment with me, your host Jonathan. Once again, bringing you my thoughts and movie review, and this is for the brand new martial arts film, The Furious. Now, I'm gonna butcher all these names, and I apologize in advance, but this movie is directed by Kenji Tanaka. Tanaka. I apologize if I butcher that. I apologize. It stars I had to write it down as much as best I could. Mo Tenzai. Again, apologize. Joe Tasman. Again, sorry. And Yaya Renau. Again, I apologize. So, The Furious. Before we talk about this, gotta say congratulations to everybody involved in the film. It's very hard to make a movie or TV show depending on what you're watching. And also, where's our trailer, Marvel? I will continue saying this until Marvel releases the Doomsday trailer. So The Furious. Um, like I said, it has these two guys. One who's a mute, who's he's a loving father. Just trying to live his life with his kid, and then one day his daughter gets kidnapped by human traffickers, and he has to go try to find a way to save her. On that way to try to save her, he ends up meeting this journalist who's also trying to crack this story because his wife started the whole thing by finding out about this organization in the first place, and then she herself gets kidnapped as well. And he has to try to find his wife and also finish the story by trying to save these kids because the human traffickers are using these kids for illegal purposes, if you know what I mean. So the two of them end up meeting each other, and the two of them have to fight their way to the top and try to save these children. Okay, so that's basically the plot of this film. What did I thought about this movie? This movie's been freaking phenomenal. I really enjoyed this movie a lot. I thought every moment of this movie was freaking crazy. This was like a roller coaster it did not want to stop or slow down at any point. There was so much going on in this movie that you couldn't even take a breath. You'd be like, whoo, all right, some talking moments. Let's get some talking in here. And normally when you get a movie with a lot of action, sometimes they'll take a little break to talk, to get people to catch up to the story. But no, they get to the story so quickly, and then again, you guys know the story. Here's all the action. That's exactly what this movie was, and every single scene was great. The framework of how they filmed every single fight scene in here was great. Every single shot felt like they cared. Every single kick, punch, whatever, weaponry, whatever they were using, every angle, every corner, every shot around, the faces, the emotions that these guys were going through to fight these, the bad guys in a way. It worked. And there was no shaky cam, which I am so glad, because sometimes shaky cam doesn't really work really well, because sometimes you can miss a lot of, key moments, facial expression, the way a certain weapon would hit somebody, or a punch, or a kick, or whatever. The camera angles here were great. I thought the director did a really good job with the camera angles in here, and every actor felt like, yeah, they're badasses, and you can clearly see what they're doing, and it works. And every moment in here, even the villains, you can clearly tell the villains were being like real villains because they knew how to fight, and the way they were fighting our heroes was like, wow. Even the dialogue communication between our two heroes. One's a mute who can't really communicate because he can do sign language, but if the other guy doesn't understand it, it's kind of really hard. So he has to find ways to communicate with him. All that stuff completely worked. It made it believable that you still care about these characters and you want these two guys to succeed and finding what they want. So it totally worked. Even the daughter in here, who gets kidnapped, because it's in the trailer. She gets kidnapped, and you can see her be kind of like, not just a little scared kid. She has to be kind of brave and do what she needs to do in this movie. And she does some things in here, and I'm like, wow, for a child actor, that kid needs flowers. She did a great job as well. So yeah, there's that. And then again, the brutality of the film was great. Seeing, the good guys and the bad guys, do what they do with their hands, using them as lethal weapons. It was just completely crazy, and it worked in all so many different levels. And if you get squeamish with just like finger bending or anything like that, and this might not be for you, but if you are good with that kind of stuff, this movie is like hardcore when it comes to that kind of brutality. Not like ripping arms or anything like that brutality, but it's still very effective. And each moment just kept going and going and going, and I loved every moment of it. But there are some stuff in here that I didn't like. There's one thing particularly that kind of like stood out to me a little bit too much. And at first I'm like, all right, I get it. Some of these actors are talking a different language, and that's fine. You can have subtitles on the bottom, which this movie does, and it's also English as well. And but sometimes the dub does not work really well. With the actor moving there, talking and the sounds coming out, but the lips are not matching the voice. Sometimes that could be jarring, and sometimes it can just be all right. It's not the first language. It makes sense to have to dub around it. Oh my God, there are some moments in here that kind of does that a little too badly, and it doesn't work. Kind of like if you guys remember Madam Web, when the bad guy, his I guess his language barrier was so different from America's. I'm not really sure what happened, but his mouth was moving and the voice was coming out, and it was not matching the lips. I really don't like when that happens, especially when it's really too noticeable. And there's one particular character that, and again, it's not his fault. It's just that, I feel like there's ways you can fix that in audio, but it really kind of made it a little too noticeable. If you spot those things a lot, it can be like, yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, kind of weird, but still, I'm not blaming the actor. I'm not blaming him at all. I just feel like, we're at the point now where technology is a little bit more better. They can polish it up a little more, but still. Another thing that I like, I feel like, there are cops in this movie, and some cops do do what they have to do, and then there are other cops that are just beyond stupid. I'm like, why are cops so stupid in movies? Like, seriously. Even if they're corrupted, they just do stupid things. I just don't. That always bothers me in movies. That's like my one pet peeve about movies. Sometimes it's like, especially when they have cops. It's like, are they cops are gonna be stupid, or they're just gonna be like useless? I really hate that. It just bothers me too much. I don't know why, but it's just like, why would cops do that? There are things that cops do things in here that make no sense to me, but whatever. I'm like, okay, whatever. But then it goes back to the action, and I'm like, all right, this movie's fantastic. I think this movie still hits every cylinder I want it to be. I wanted this movie to be fun, action, violence, and this movie had everything I wanted. Minus those two little things, but still, fun time. I enjoyed it. Highly recommend it. So, leave me a comment below. Let me know what you guys thought about The Furious. Did you guys watch this movie? Not watch this movie? Never heard of it until I talked about it? Whatever it is, leave me a comment below. And also, let me know what's your favorite, martial arts movie. Mine's is either IP Man or The Raid. I go back, or The Raid 2. Between those three movies, I go back and forth between those. Monkey Man was a good movie too, for that kind of like action, martial arts thing. Go watch that movie too. That movie's fantastic. I love that movie. But yeah, this movie might be up there for me. It's my favorite martial arts movie moving forward. But yeah, I think they really did a great job with it. And again, I apologize for not pronouncing the names right for the actors and the director. So I apologize. But they all did a phenomenal job anyway. So I'm a very big fan. So leave a comment below. Let me know what you guys thought. Stay tuned for more. Thank you very much, and have a good day.